Hi everybody, and now for your marine weather, issued on Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. So let's start out with the sea ice edge. Not much as you can see on this image right here. There is a little bit of ice forming north of where this image is showing, and not much else going on up there. So now let's look at tonight's weather in the analysis. First of all, we have a 1011 millibar low. That'll be right about off of Icy Bay, really weakening very, very quickly. There is some onshore wind that's going to occur with this. Then we have a surface ridge over the central portion of the state, extending down into a closed surface high, 1,022 millibars south of the Gulf. And then we have a 999 millibar low that's rapidly weakening, but it's got a full occluded front and a cold front moving into the Bering Sea, and the cold front is approaching the west coast. We also have a cold front through the Chukchi Sea, a little bit of snow out ahead of it. Not a whole lot of wind with that one, and not a whole lot of wind with the low that's also passed and in over Banks Island right about now. And then for Thursday, that low really weakens as it comes up to the coast in the Bering Sea, about 1,004 millibars. The cold front moving very slowly across the Chukchi Sea. Pretty weak, but a little bit of snow out ahead of it. The cold front is falling apart through Bristol Bay and down through the Alaska Peninsula. Surface ridge of high pressure now right about in the central portion of the state, about 150 degrees west. And then that low that was in the Gulf, nothing left of it really. 1,024 millibar high has built just a little bit south of the Gulf of Alaska. And you can see in the lower left-hand corner of the page there that we do have a system coming up from the south. So on Friday, that system deepens to 971 millibars, quite a complex frontal system moving out ahead of it, including some warm air on the east side. And that system is probably storm force. It's got some pretty strong winds out of the north on the backside of that occluded front. Also, we have another cold front moving into the Chukchi Sea, a little bit of snow out ahead of that. And that front that was moving across the North Slope, really, really weakening now, not doing much of anything. And the high pressure has retreated in the Gulf of Alaska, but it has built to 1,027 millibars. So let's take a look at the Southeast Alaska marine forecast. For Thursday, on the inside waters, generally southeasterlies, 10 to 15 knots, seas up to 3 feet. And on the outside waters, got a little bit of onshore flow, 10 to 15 knots or so until you get far to the north. Seas 6 feet, part of that's southwest swell. And then on Friday, we've got very light winds on the inside water, seas up to 2 feet. And generally 10 knots, starting to come around from the east on the outside waters, and off of Cape Suckling, it'll be east of 15 seas 3 feet. For south central waters, pretty light winds, again, 10 to 15 knots from Prince William Sound all the way down south of Seward. We did have some northwesterlies earlier coming out of Kennedy Entrance. That's calmed down now to about 15 knots, seas 3 feet later tonight, and 10 knots in Cook Inlet. And then really light wind forecast for south central on Friday. Maximum seas that you might encounter 3 feet, a little bit of easterlies off of Cape Suckling, but not much really going on. And then for the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, southwesterlies 15 knots on the Gulf side, seas up to about 4 feet, and then on the Bering Sea side, 10 to 15 knots, seas up to about 5 feet. And then for Friday, everything's coming around to east. In response to that system that is starting to develop well south of the Aleutian chain there, for on the Gulf side, increasing the gales easterly, 35 knots, seas up to 10 feet. Off of Kodiak Island, however, 10 to 15 knots, seas up to 3 feet. And then on the Bering Sea side, 25 to 30 knots, seas up to 7 feet. So for Thursday's forecast for the Aleutian chain, what we've got is generally 15 to 20 knots, 10 knots south of Atka, seas on the Pacific side up to 6 feet, and on the Bering Sea side up to 8 feet. And then really responding to that system coming up that'll arrive on Saturday. But we're starting to see gale force even up to 40 south of Unalaska, northeasterlies with 15-foot seas. Otherwise, gale force 35 knots in the eastern Aleutians, seas up to 16 feet. And then as you go further west, starting to respond 15 all the way up to 30 knots, seas 10 feet on the Pacific side and 5 feet on the Bering Sea side. For Thursday on the west coast, what we've got is generally southerlies with a little bit of westerly component until you get to St. Matthew Island, where it'll be north. Seas up to 9 feet in the Pribilofs. Otherwise, pretty light seas, but 15 to 25 knots if you get up to Norton Sound, and seas up to about 5 feet. And then for Friday, again, starting to respond to that system well to the south. North wind 30 knots, seas 10 feet for the Pribilofs, otherwise ranging all the way down to 10 knots for Norton Sound, kind of a split flow. And then we've got seas up to 4 feet in the south, and then 2 feet only in Norton Sound. For the Arctic coast, we've got generally southerlies with an easterly component as in the Bering Strait, 15 to 20 knots down there, seas up to 4 feet, and then southerlies in the Chukchi, 20 knots. Otherwise, as you get further east, down to 10 knots, seas up to 3 feet. And then for Friday, again, south of the Bering Strait, starting to respond to that low, but not much wind, about 10 knots, seas up to 3 feet. But as you get further north, those cold fronts that are skirting the north slope, those guys will ramp up to about 15 knots, seas 3 feet. And so I want everybody to stay safe out there. Keep updating yourselves at your local forecast office, and be sure to file a float plan. Thank you very much for tuning in.